Hey, Jeff Fuller back with you. Jay Fuller Interviews. Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, the Facebook group, Instagram, and Twitter. So glad that you've joined us. It's going to be the Backfire podcast on Spotify, the Backfire podcast on Spotify. So make sure you check that out. Upcoming, joining me now, we have Rob Peterson. Rob, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks again for making the time. And so those that do not know, you are a third, Rob Peterson the third. What's that like to carry that heritage on your shoulders?
It's a privilege for sure. Having my dad so much success in the basketball world, it's an honor to be son, especially third. People recognizing him and everything. He's done a great job being a good dad and not putting too much pressure on me to meet his standards of what he was able to accomplish during his career and his playing days.
And so your dad, he is known as Buzz.
Right.
Buzz Peterson, roommates with Michael Jordan. How did he get that nickname Buzz?
I believe it was from his sister, childhood days. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They see I'm the third. They're like, wait, so Buzz's real name is Robert? I'm like, yeah, his real name is Robert. And so from his sister, I believe, some cartoon.
And so I have to say I have this wrong. Your Instagram is Rob_Peterson22. It's not a dash, so it's Rob_Peterson22. What's it been like for you going into your junior year at High Point now to play basketball? And as you mentioned, your dad just let you play, but do you put pressure on yourself to kind of follow in his footsteps?
Not so much on the court. He's done a really good job, and my mom too, to not put much pressure on me on the court. But off the court, there's a level of standard that I guess it comes with being a part of the family. That he demands. So I put pressure on myself there to make sure I hold myself accountable and respectful way that I should. But it's no pressure on the court. So, which I'm very thankful for, because some kids, when their dad's successful on the court like that, they get a lot of pressure on themselves and ends up hurting the kid.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. Where did you grow up? Which state?
Well, I was born when he was at App State the first time.
Okay. I think Rob just froze a little bit, but hopefully we'll get him back. You're back now. You're back now. So at App State, you were saying was when you were born, your dad's first tenure.
Yeah, that's where I was born, and I went to Tulsa. They were only there for 6-8 months, and then we went to Knoxville for 4 years. Myrtle Beach after that for 2 years. After Myrtle Beach, came to Charlotte, and that was the interesting part. My mom and my sisters actually lived in Charlotte for 2 years. So did me and my dad. And then he took the Appalachian State job for a year. And in that year, me and my dad actually lived in Boone again.
Wow.
And so then we all got back together for 4 more years in Wilmington. We all moved together in Wilmington. And then we came to Charlotte after that. But yeah, it was a weird time because we just commuted back and forth from Charlotte to Boone whenever games and stuff like that. So it was weird, but good time.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 older sisters, both recently married, two years into their marriage. So they got married 3 months apart. He almost had it's tough on him.
So for you, did you always know you were going to be a basketball player, or were there other sports you played growing up?
No, it was basketball. I played football and baseball, but it was nothing compared to basketball. I want to be a coach too. I've known that since little. But I mean, here recently, I've kind of developed like what he's doing now, assistant general manager and being in the front office in the NBA. But I still being around that coaching from such a young age, it's addicting. I think that's what I want to do.
Oh, for sure. It's a great vocation. Here on the High Point webpage, it says that you are 6'6". When did you get your growth spurt, or did you always kind of grow just incrementally along the way?
We had my dad had a player at UNC Wilmington. His name was Cedric Williamson, and his dad, Cedric grew like 6 inches. He said it was like 6'9". His dad told my mom that drank a bunch of whole milk, whatever. So like my 8th grade year, I actually did that, and I grew like 4 or 5 inches to 6'1". And so then from freshman year on, I gradually grew to about 6'5", 6'6".
So farmers everywhere are applauding your stance on that because it's going to keep them employed and their prices high. But basketball is 6'6". What position do you play?
I'm a 3, small forward, and 4 sometimes. This past year, I really had to. We were such a young team. I played anything from the 2 to the 5. Yeah, we went small ball sometimes, but mainly a 3.
And now, because you grew up definitely in a different generation than your father did, even a different era than I grew up. I'm 45. Having like positionless basketball, how does that fit your style?
You know, I'll be honest. I like it better that way because you're not confined to anything. That's my favorite part about it. It depends on the level. Of course, the Big South. I think I like positionless basketball the best. I think it fits our level the best. Once you get to the NBA and everything, it's a little bit different. You see the Houston Rockets kind of struggling right now in the series OKC, but I think it fits my style because you don't necessarily have to do one thing great. You can do multiple things great or good and get on the court, whether it's at the 2 position or the 5 position. Whatever position you're playing, you be able to tap into whatever you're good at that time, whether it be boxing out, doing little things, getting the rebounds at the 4 or 5 position. And if you're in at the 2, hit that open shot, create plays.
So besides North Carolina, what college team did you like to watch when you were younger?
Definitely on my dad's teams.
Yeah.
For sure. It's probably my favorite. Yeah, it's probably his teams. I'll be honest, I didn't really. Maybe some of his friends, like Murray Bartow, was at East Tennessee State a little bit. Steve Alford's teams at New Mexico, and then UCLA. Probably those teams. Ed Conroy's teams at Tulane and the Citadel. So if it wasn't his teams, it was someone that he was connected with teams.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's pretty cool to have that connection. I just want to talk a little bit more about you specifically basketball-wise at High Point. Number 22, I noticed in AAU you did not rock the 22, but what is it about that number that you love so much? And did you have to pay an upperclassman to wear number 22 at High Point?
Well, truth be told, my AAU number, I believe, was 5. And my high school number was 5 until my senior year. And I came to High Point and I said, "Can I get number 5?" And someone already had it. So I was like, you know what? It's meant to be, I guess, 22.
There you go.
And just happened to work out, I guess.
And so with different players that you watched, who did you try to pattern your game after? Were there certain players in the NBA that you watched, or was it just how you were coached and you developed your own game, or was there a player or two that you really tried to play like?
I would say I kind of molded my own into what I wanted to be. But I looked at some of my dad's players to take certain things from their game and make it my own. But most would have been just not really watching anybody and mold that. It's probably one of my regrets. I probably wish I would have picked somebody and try to play like them. I guess so caught up in my dad's players and watching them.
Now, being a junior at High Point, you're definitely more mature than you were when you were in high school. But how difficult was that on you, as you recall, moving from place to place and really not being able to put down roots or have strong friendships that maybe some other kids would have had if they were able to stay all 7 years from junior high to high school?
Right. I think it's a blessing, honestly, in disguise. When it's all said and done, you get to this point in your life, and I'm very thankful for it. I'll be honest. It teaches you a lot of lessons. But I believe it was easier on me than it was with my sisters and everything, because I had sports, I had basketball, I had football, I had baseball, and those kids that were on my team became my friends. but it teaches you a lot of lessons to adapt. And you know, when you get older, your profession takes you a lot of places, and your friends won't always be there. But you have to be able to keep the connection with them. And those connections still mean a lot, and it allows you to start that early. Honestly, through how many ever moves, I think it's 6, 7 moves I've had. I think there are about 3 friends that I've been able to actually keep up with through the whole time. So, I mean, it teaches you about people and other life lessons that you wouldn't get if that wasn't the circumstances.
Now, being a part of your dad's ongoing friendship with Michael Jordan, are you close to Jordan's kids at all, or is this just something from a distance you get to watch your dad and that friendship continuing on from his college days with Jordan?
It's just something I really get to watch. I know Jasmine a little bit. I've been around her because of the Hornets, but Marcus and Jeffrey not much. But his nephew Justin Jordan, who played at UNCG, he actually went to Hargrave Military Academy, and I spent a year there also after. So I've developed a little bit of relationship with him. He's with the Hornets now. So I've seen Michael in probably like 2 or 3 years.
Hey, so I'm just thinking about your journey, but also your dad's, like just having your dad get fired, to move on, transition from different places, seeing some of the difficulty, adversity he went through. How did that affect you? But also, how did watching him increase your faith and your resolve to become the person of character you are?
It was a direct shot at him. Of course, every time he got fired, he'd been fired twice, so it is direct shot at him. But he involved his family, me and my sister and my mom, so much that it's a direct hit on us too. I remember more vividly the Wilmington situation than I do Tennessee because I was older, and I'll never forget. I said, "Dad, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? All this stuff." And he looked at me, and this stick for me forever. He looked at me and said, "I don't know where we're gonna go, but God does." Mom is a very strong woman of faith too. Grew up in church, and they actually sent me to Christian school after my freshman year of high school for basketball purposes. But I told my mom that she did the greatest thing she could ever do for me, to send me to that Christian school. At the time, I wasn't really on board with it. It kind of sucked and everything. And then you get farther along in life and you learn more, and then you look back and be like, if you didn't get fired, what could have happened?
Right.
So it developed your faith. It developed my faith in so many different ways, especially adversity. And everybody's life can develop your faith so much. And so, really, when that stuff happens, he never really got down. I could see never. It sucked. It hurt, but you continue to move on. And it didn't move on by himself. He didn't. He knew he wasn't alone. He had his family, he had God, and so I really saw that and was able to take that in. And I still take it to this day. Every time he gets stressed, every time my mom and them get stressed, I see their faith through them, and it really is able to help me with my faith in knowing that whatever I'm going to go through, whatever I do go through, that I'm not alone. I have God and my family there with me.
Well, especially right now during COVID and with the pandemic and not knowing, as far as high school sports here in Vermont, everything's up in the air, and collegiate sports, it's just kind of a crazy time, but to be moving forward in your faith is huge. And I want to ask you about that. Being a junior, real talk now, I mean, there's a lot of temptations. There's a lot of things that would distract you from being sold out to Jesus, for Jesus. How do you maintain that discipline of knowing that you are not your own, but God wants you to use you as an example, and God wants the best for you in your life anyway?
Right. Actually, one of my teammates asked me yesterday. He was like, my girl stuff. How you do it? Blah blah. And I said, Annie, you here for basketball? And I said, you wake up in the morning, you spend 5-10 minutes with God, meditate a little bit, you get your mind right, and then you go focus on the things that you are here for. You go to class, you get in the gym. You sleep, you go to class, you get in the gym. you watch TV, and you need to repeat those regimens every day, because if you aren't in the gym, you ain't in class, that's exactly how everybody gets in trouble. That's exactly how, you end up drinking, doing drugs, whatever else you may do, get involved with girls. And those three things will bring you down quicker than anything else will. So as long as you stick to your regimen of going to class, getting in the gym, and focusing on what God has for you at this university or wherever you are, because you are in the right spot wherever you are at whatever time. God has you there for a reason. And I have a Bible verse right here and on my chest too. And one of the reasons I got him is I knew people would ask me about him. And so that's one of the ways I spread the word for him. Is a lot of kids will be like, nice Bible verse, what does it say? Blah, blah. And then you start talking about it. Then that's their entry, to knowing about Jesus Christ.
No, that's wonderful. That's great. And Rob, I want to applaud you with that. And it's just difficult, but always take that stand. That's what I told my son. Again, he's a freshman in college, and it's like, you never to get a second opportunity to make a first impression. So let people that you're going after Jesus, and then he's going to carry you all the way anyway. Hey, with the Charlotte Hornets, are you a big fan? You could talk to me. Are you a big fan of the Hornets, or is there another team that you keep your eye on because they're winning, they're in the bubble, they're fighting for a championship? Is it hard when your dad's team is struggling in the NBA, at least in the playoff standings and all of that?
I'm a huge Charlotte Hornets fan. I follow them everything they do. But right now in the bubble, I hated that we didn't make it because I thought we should. They brought the best 20 whatever teams. Got to get Zion and John there. It is what it is. I think we jumped. We jumped at one point. I don't know if we finished above Washington, but at some point we jumped above Washington because of the games they were losing. But watching the bubble and everything, it's so hard. He's so good. And watching LeBron, I love to pull against LeBron James. I'll be honest with you, and that probably fuels his fire for all the haters he has, and I'm sure it does, and people that still don't believe he's the greatest or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'll never be on that bandwagon. I just can't. I just won't ever. I've watched enough Jordan, that relationship. So that's what I do now. The bubble and everything. Anytime we are losing, the Hornets are out, I'm cheering against LeBron and the Lakers.
Yeah. Hey, how would you do within a bubble context? And there is some talk for Division I with March Madness doing something similar to the bubble. Would you go stir crazy? Do you think you'd be okay? Especially for the NBA, it could go on 3 months total. How would you do in a bubble environment?
Yeah, I heard there may be a bubble for us, like you said. It's one of those things, I don't know if you can really know until you're there. Like right now, our campus is pretty much shut down. I don't know if you know, High Point's all gates everywhere. You got to go through a gate to get through. And now they're saying no guests. So it's almost like we're in a bubble now, but we have our neighbors and everything. We kind of interact with other people, but not much. I'd probably go crazy. But that would probably return the same thing about faith and everything. You meditate, whatever, you get right with God. He has you right where you're supposed to be, and you need just calm your anxiety, calm your everything. You'll be all right. But hey, bubble, no bubble, whatever it takes, all of us want to play. It's the game we love. We want to be out there. So I have no problem. If it's a bubble, whatever it may be, I'm ready to be out there.
Yeah, we'll get you out in a couple minutes. Thanks again for making the time, Rob. And Rob Peterson, High Point Jr., 6'6", grew from drinking some whole milk. So how do you like those apples? But my nephew, he is going to a small D3 school, not playing sports, but he had to stay on his floor. He could not leave his floor for the first 2 weeks. And it was just kind of crazy how that happened. And also getting tested. How is that, getting that, not toothpick, but that whatever stuck up your nose? How often you have to get tested? Are you kind of used to it now?
Well, we're not getting tested right now, but we did get tested when we first got here. And I think I got tested. I was tested a total of 6 times. It was terrible. It was awful. I hated it. The longer ones were worse than there's the ones at the beginning were longer sticks. And they would stick that one way up there. This new one is literally like a Q-tip, and it goes. I mean, it still goes up there, and it's not a pleasant experience. But I heard the testing's getting cheaper. Maybe like a cheap swab, or swab next. That's what I'm hoping for. Something a little easier, please.
Hey, so with your routine, what was the hardest thing for you to develop? Was it a proper diet, or was it working out, running as far as cardio? For you, staying in shape, getting in shape for this season, what's the most difficult piece of it? Is it the diet, the working out? What about training frustrates you because it doesn't come as easy as other things?
This is the most frustrating offseason I've ever had. Well, aside from COVID, I tore my hip labrum last summer, and they gave me the option to rehab it throughout the season or have surgery then. If I had surgery then, I would have missed some of the season, and so I said, let's go ahead and play through it and rehab and see if I can, because they said there's maybe a possibility after the season that I wouldn't have surgery. So I get to the season, nothing gets better. It's hurt after I played everything, and I end up having surgery scheduled for March. And then all the stuff happened with COVID, and it got pushed back to May. And so I've been rehabbing, and I tell you what, rehab is probably the worst thing that any athlete could go through because it's so slow. You have to have your discipline in your eyes, so tunnel vision on the end of the light, and to get back to playing, it's crazy. And I'm in a 6 months recovery. I mean, it is terrible. It goes so slow. It won't let me jump. It won't let me run. Going week by week, day by day. It's just so slow. But aside from that, just getting to where I am now, the hardest about training would be getting in shape, no doubt. Because you get in shape for 5 days of the week at this point, because they're only allowed to give you 4 hours a week on the court. So you get those weekends off. You get those weekends off. You got to be disciplined what you put in your body, because you can come back Monday just as out of shape you were last Monday. So.
Yeah, I hear that. And that's something, as I get older, I realize that I need to be much more cautious of what I'm eating than what I've done before. Hey, so if or when the movie comes out about your life, who plays you in that movie?
We had this is so bad. I don't know if this is realistic or not, but Zac Efron is what we did. We actually did this.
There you go.
And my team was like, your High School Musical, Zac Efron, right there. Boom. He's starring you in a movie. And I was like, oh, wow. So I wrote that down for like high points, get to know Rob Peterson, who would play you in a movie. I was like, Zac Efron. So I went with it. I don't know who else. So I'm down with it.
As I should have remembered, when I asked your dad, he named an actor, and it was really good. But then the second part of this question, your dad declined to answer. He said, you're going to get me in trouble. But for you, I will ask, and hopefully you can answer. Who plays your love interest in that feature film about your life? So Zac Efron playing you. Who plays your love interest in that feature film?
Oh, my love interest?
So while you think, I always say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, not that we look anything alike. And then I say Halle Berry, not that my wife looks anything like Halle Berry, but I would go to watch that movie. I think that'd be a movie worth watching.
Yeah, them too. I don't know. I really, not that she's a pretty lady, but I'd probably say Jennifer Aniston. Just I love her movies.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Rob, thanks so much for making some time for us. The final question is simply this. If you get an open shot for a game winner, where on the floor do you want to be?
The right wing or the left wing, but probably right wing. That's right. I was trying to think about the spots I was shooting yesterday. I shot it well from the right wing yesterday. So right wing. Right now,
there you go.
The right wing.
You just tell your coach anywhere over half court, and you're prepared and ready to take that shot.
I'm ready to take it.
For a fact. Hey, Rob, thanks so much for making the time. We wish you all the best, and especially for the season of uncertainty. Enjoy your junior year. Should be a great one, and we just pray everything works out for you. So thanks again for making the time.
Thank you.
And again, that's Rob Peterson joining us. He's with High Point, the Panthers. Check them out. You can find their website right here. You see Rob and the other players, their roster and schedule. And it's so much fun to have different guests on, hear their stories, share their stories of what is taking place. So again, you are listening to Jay Fuller Interviews. It's going to be the Backfire Podcast on Spotify. Check it out, the Backfire Podcast on Spotify. What is a backfire? A backfire is when firefighters set an intentional fire to consume what would fuel the main fire. And if we could consume the negativity, then when that comes to us, we would, well, that would backfire on them, and there would be no fuel left to fire that. So that's all. That's what I got for you. And thanks again for making the time and joining us. Jay Fuller Interviews, YouTube, Facebook group, Instagram, and Twitter. The Backfire Podcast on Spotify.